But I want to go over the three things that have really surprised me in the real estate market. I am a fervent believer that the Fed and the government should be separate. Keep in mind that the Fed rate and the mortgage rate are not the same thing. There are times when we list property and we used to just walk in and say, hey, this property is going to sell over the weekend. It's not going to be a matter whether it sells, just how many offers we get. I don't say that anymore. There are just only so many buyers out there. And I think there is a little bit more uncertainty. Hey everyone, this is Seth with the Moving Sucks podcast. I am solo today. Jen is on vacation, and last week we didn't publish an episode. It's been very busy here in the Philadelphia area. The team's very busy, and but I didn't want to make it 2 weeks that we didn't have an episode for you. This is going to be just me, and it's going to be very short. But I want to go over the three things that have really surprised me in the real estate market, at least in Philadelphia. As you know, if you're a regular listener, you know that I know a lot of the markets around the country. I'm very much on the record of saying that there is no way to kind of quantify the United States real estate market with one metric. It's easy. It's bite-sized. It's easy to just put it up. It's bite-sized. It's, but largely anecdotal. Like if for somebody to really understand their market, they need to be in their local data, looking at things. Generally a practitioner. I don't have a lot of faith in economists and financiers and for example, the new National Association of Realtors economist has been wrong every year for the last 7 years. I don't remember the last time he was right. So what you want to do is definitely, if you want to know about your local market, you need to call a local realtor. We have a big network all over the country. So I'm always giving out referrals and connecting people wherever they may be. So, I want to go over a couple things that have really surprised me about this market in 2025. We're over halfway through the year. It's a good sample size of like where we're going to go and where the year is going to be headed. We are looking at, we're already through the spring market. We have settled almost all those properties. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go into that final run up to the holidays. So we're going to be heading into the fall of 2025. And that usually lends itself to some different behavior from a real estate market standpoint. But let's talk about what's happened. So one thing that has really surprised me is that interest rates have not gone down. Now, I'm not here to give you an opinion whether they should go up or down. I am a fervent believer that the Fed and the government should be separate. People forget or don't know that the Federal Reserve is technically a private bank. It's chartered by Congress, but it's not a branch of government. It's not part of like the government. The Federal Reserve makes it sound like it is, but it's actually technically not part of the like government apparatus. So if you ever want to ask a trick question, what part of the government is the Federal Reserve? Everyone's like, oh, well, it's part of the Treasury Department. It's like, well, no, it's not. Now, it was chartered in 1913 by, I think it was 1913 by Congress. But there is a reason that there's independence there, and there should be. So, but the stinginess of rates not coming down lends itself to that there's something else out there that maybe that the Fed and Jerome Powell are looking at that make them a little bit cautious. I do think the tariffs kind of threw a wrench into all the ideas about a rate cut. And, anytime there's uncertainty, you've got rates that aren't going to come down. So in the end, I believe that I thought we'd be at like 6% by now, but employment information, employment data is still pretty strong, and inflation is still making them a little uneasy. So I've been really kind of surprised at the kind of stinginess of those rates to not come down. Keep in mind that the Fed rate and the mortgage rate are not the same thing. The 10-year Treasury is what the mortgage rates are based off of, but they generally are correlative. If that's a word, they correlate pretty closely since very, very long ago. So generally when rates go down, Fed rates go down, mortgage rates go down. So that has surprised me. I will say that I do expect rates to keep coming down. I do think there's going to be a softening in the market generally, but not for housing, at least in the Philadelphia area. I think it's going to be just for other reasons. Maybe the tariffs, maybe inflation eases a little bit. as money kind of slows down. So I've done a deep dive where, Jen's kind of just sat there and listened to me soliloquy about the why interest rates do what they do and inflation and how that all works. So if you want to listen to that episode, we can put that in the show notes. But in the end, that has been something that has surprised me. The other thing that has surprised me is a little bit more leverage by buyers. So, houses are not just selling over the weekend necessarily here in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is about as good a market, hot a market as any. And there are times when we list property and we used to just walk in and say, hey, this property is going to sell over the weekend. It's not going to matter whether it sells, just how many offers we get. I don't say that anymore because I don't know anymore. There are certain properties in certain areas where you can still say that, but generally I just kind of taken that out and I don't set that expectation because I think that there are just only so many buyers out there. And I think there is a little bit more uncertainty. Now, the good news is that buyers are getting a little bit of leverage. Like I'm seeing my inspector more. We're getting more favorable terms. We're able to push back a little bit more on settlement dates and all the stuff that might be important for our buyers. But I do not want to give any kind of false hope that there is some massive buyer's market here where buyers can just get back in and dictate terms and all that. Sellers still have the goods. They still have the things that people want. And if the house is priced right, doesn't smell like a foot, and is in a good location, it's probably going to sell. So in the end, I feel like that has surprised me. I thought that these bidding wars would continue through 2025, but there has been a little bit of a slowdown there. So every market is an opportunity. And unless the consumer is armed with data, they can't really make a great decision. So I'll give you an example. A seller really needs to understand what the market's doing, because there are a lot of sellers being like, is the market still crazy? Like, can I just sell this house and not have to do anything to it? We have to go in and set some expectations. Now, an extreme case of that is Florida. Florida, they not only don't want to do anything with their house, but they think their houses are worth potentially 20, 30% more than what they actually are. So they're very reliant on like internet calculators like realtor.com, Redfin, Zillow. That's a whole different thing. But even within the margins here in Philly, you got to paint, at times you got to clean up the property, maybe make that facelift this, facelift that, definitely get professional cleaners in, make sure the marketing's really buttoned up. And what I am really excited about is that this is going to become more of like a professionals market, which I humbly would say that I'm part of, and our team, and being able to level up out of kind of the just general blah agent rosters here. You got to be able to, you got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're doing. And buyer agents also have to know what they're doing and know that like they don't have to sacrifice everything in effort to get a property. I have had 3 listings in the last 6 weeks that have sold, and the buyer's agent just went for no reason over ask and waived everything. And I didn't have any other offers. Now, it's not my job to tell him that we didn't have any other offers, but their expectation was that there were just multiple offers, and they were acting like it was 2022. So it's very important for people to get an idea of the dynamics of a market and make sure that they understand. And that's just the boring stuff, man. That's just getting into the data, having lots of conversations with other agents. And when you do a lot of volume like we do, that happens. You just, hey, what are you seeing out there? You're talking to people in this area and that area. It's like, well, what really surprised me? I put this house up 2 years ago. It would have sold with like 17 offers, only got 3. That's an interesting piece of information if you have a buyer in that area, for example. So those are like the 2 big things that have really surprised me. Overall, I would say that what's not a surprise is that nationally, the market is definitely slowing down. But there are so many factors that roll into those national numbers, including new construction counts, shadow inventory. But there are definitely areas in Philly or in Florida, Texas, now Arizona, Nashville, North and South Carolina, Georgia, that are having a lot of trouble where property can sit for 6 months to a year. And not because it's overpriced. It's just there's not enough buyers. So something that people did not think about when they were like, well, there's no inventory. There's no inventory. It's like pricing has to come down. It's like, yeah, well, that could happen. Or like buyers just might not be interested. So supply and demand, that's a two-way street. People have only been talking about demand. I'm sorry, supply. People have only been talking about supply. Like how many houses are on there? Is there too much? Is there not enough? But then it's like, you could not have a lot of inventory. But if demand comes down, kind of the same thing, kind of the same result. So that's what we're going to be watching. And so I just figured I'd hop on here real quick, little bite size. I hope everyone's having a great summer. Summer's almost over and my kids are going back to school and I'll have a routine and I'm going to be so excited about it. So appreciate your time. And if you like this content, be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment too. Like, what are you seeing? If you're a realtor, what are you seeing in your market? If you're a consumer, like what's your prediction for the market? Do you think the market's going to continue to soften, or do you think that interest rates are going to go down and then everyone's going to come back into the market? That's a pretty strong narrative right now. So, but anyway, I'd love to hear your comment, and we try to respond to them all. And appreciate it. See ya.